Violet felt something cold, wet, and slobbery dragging across her face. Her eyes popped open. Alaric's giant tongue was enthusiastically licking her face, leaving a slimy trail of spit. "What the Violet started to say, but things went from weird to worse fast. The wolves, circling her like a pack of hungry dogs eyeing a steak, started closing in, tongues lolling and eyes sparkling with mischief. Violet's stomach dropped. "This is it," she thought. "I'm gonna die." The warm, scratchy feeling made her flinch, but there was nowhere to go. One by one, the wolves piled on, their wet noses nudging her skin as their tongues dragged over her face, arms, and even her legs. Violet felt dizzy. It was like a furry, slobbery tidal wave was washing over her. Laughter exploded from the human onlookers, who were clearly finding this whole thing hilarious. Panic swelled inside Violet, and she tried to push the wolves away, but her hands froze when she saw their sharp teeth glinting in the sun. The last thing she wanted to do was make them mad. Their playful nips felt a little too close to actual biting, and Violet's heart hammered in her chest. Even though they weren't actually hurting her, it was weirder than painful. The combo of their rough tongues, wet noses, and the stifling heat of their bodies was making her totally freak out. "Get off me!" she finally croaked. But her voice was lost in the howls of laughter from her classmates and the excited yips of the wolves, who were obviously loving this. The licking kept going, relentless and embarrassing. Every lick and playful bite sent shivers down her spine. Violet felt like a trapped animal, totally helpless. After what felt like forever, the wolves suddenly backed off. Violet lay there on the grass, heart racing, clothes soaked and messy, trying to figure out what the heck had just happened. She was breathing hard, and her arms and legs felt like lead. The humiliation was almost too much to bear. Just when she thought it was finally over, her tiny bit of relief was shattered. A mischievous green wolf, Roman, strolled over, his green eyes twinkling. "No," Violet whispered, a knot forming in her stomach. She didn't even have the energy to protest. She was completely wiped out. The laughter around her went up another notch. Violet couldn't breathe. This was the most embarrassing thing that had ever happened to her. The warmth spread through her clothes, clinging to her skin like a second, disgusting layer. Her mind went blank. She couldn't fight, scream, or even cry. She just lay there, numb. As the laughter died down, Roman shifted back into his human form. He crouched down next to her. "And that is how we give the best scenting treatment," Roman said with a huge grin. "Welcome to Lunaris school, little purple head." Violet stood under the shower, the hot water cascading over her, chanting 4 names like a twisted mantra. Asher Nightshade, Roman Draven, Griffin Hale, Alaric Storm. It had been over an hour, and even though the smell of wolf was gone, the memory of it still made her skin crawl. That's what Roman Draven and the others, Asher, Griffin, and Alaric, had branded her with. They hadn't done it themselves, but they just stood there, their silent approval like a knife in her back. Her blood ran cold as she replayed the scene in her head. The mocking grins of her classmates, especially the preppy elites, flashed before her eyes. They'd filmed the whole humiliating ordeal, posting it online for everyone at Lunaris Academy to see. She was probably trending on the school forum again. But it wasn't just her classmates who'd made her furious. It was their teacher, Mrs. Clarkson, who should have stepped in, but hadn't. Afterward, all Mrs. Clarkson had done was offer Violet a hand up. When Violet ignored her, the teacher had simply said, "Congratulations, you're officially part of Lunaris now. It took guts to go through that. You can clean up and skip the rest of class. I'm sure you need it." There had been pity in Mrs. Clarkson's eyes, but not an ounce of guilt, like this was just another normal day at school. The taunting laughter echoed in Violet's ears. She abruptly shut off the water, the sudden silence deafening. She shivered, goosebumps erupting on her skin, not just from the memory of the scenting, but because the water had run cold. She'd used it all up. A small, bitter smile touched her lips. At least someone would be annoyed when they realized there was no hot water left. A tiny victory, but a victory nonetheless. Wrapping a towel around herself, Violet stepped out of the shower and walked to the mirror. She rubbed her hair with another towel, watching her reflection appear. Her wet hair plastered to her head made her look worn out and defeated. But as she looked closer, something fierce blazed in her golden eyes. They still burned bright, refusing to give up. She might be tired, humiliated, and angry, but she was far from broken. Still reeling from the day's events, Violet walked out of the bathroom and froze. 3 pairs of eyes immediately turned to her, conversations dying mid-sentence. She'd forgotten they were there, and from the way they'd gone silent, they'd obviously been talking about her. Swallowing her annoyance, Violet plastered on a neutral expression and walked to her bed. Violet busied herself making her bed. She was just about to lie down when Alice sheepishly approached. Violet saw her out of the corner of her eye but pretended not to notice. "Violet?" Alice called out hesitantly. Violet ignored her. Once she finished, she lay down, draping an arm over her face, burying herself in the crook of her elbow. Even though she couldn't see Alice, Violet could feel her presence. The girl wasn't leaving. Fine, she can just stand there then. A few minutes later, Violet lifted her head and growled, "What the hell do you want?" To her shock, Alice held out a tray. "Hungry?" Violet was stunned. She'd expected Alice to grovel and beg for forgiveness, something Violet could have ignored to make her suffer. Holding grudges was kind of her thing. But the aroma of food drifted over, and Violet realized she hadn't eaten since lunch, having been holed up in her room, licking her wounds. "Don't think this changes anything," she told Alice, taking the tray. She didn't miss the small smile on Alice's face. Violet dug into the fried chicken like a savage. She'd had no appetite earlier, and now, having skipped dinner, she was starving. Plus, she needed her strength to escape Lunaris later. "How are you doing?" Hazel's voice startled her. Violet paused, glancing up at Hazel. There was no sarcasm or hostility in Hazel's blue eyes, just warmth. That was unexpected. "What do you think? How would you feel?" Violet snapped, her mouth full. "I'm sorry," Alice blurted out. "I should have told you. I thought it would be fun, a surprise." "Oh, yeah," Violet sneered, her sarcasm returning. Alice opened her mouth to respond, but Lily Fairchild, the quiet, brainy girl, beat her to it. "Werewolves don't have a problem with it's just how they are. If anyone has a problem, it's us humans who feel awkward." There was no challenge or insult in her voice. She'd simply stated a fact. But Violet wasn't in the mood for logic, not when she felt like the butt of a cruel joke. "And the part?" Violet shot back. "Are werewolves so uncivilized they don't know what a toilet is?" The insult hit a nerve. Hazel glared at her, clearly disapproving. But Violet didn't care. She was the victim here. This wasn't some quirky cultural difference she was going to brush off, and she'd thought Hazel Sterling would have learned better after her own run-in with those jerks. "It's a marker," Lily replied. "A what?" "Werewolves aren't that far removed from their animal instincts. Wolves mark their territory with scent. So they, marked us all this way?" Violet asked. This time, Alice spoke. "For us, they just licked and sniffed our hands. It tickled. That's why I didn't tell you. I knew you'd hate it and try to ditch it. I couldn't let that happen." Violet frowned. "So why did he do that?" Lily shrugged, lying back on her bed. "Who knows? Maybe he's staking a claim on you."
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.